I almost yelled at the guy who runs the daycare because my eldest, ran to the kitchen, comes around the corner from the dining room into the kitchen, and I just see him arms back, and I'm like, "You little turd, who taught you this? Who taught you this?
That's what you
Like, you
get.
learned it from your daycare. I'm gonna I need to have a talk with them." I'm like, "One of your little monster children taught my kid how to do a Naruto run."
Hello and welcome to another Damn Anime podcast. My name is Nick and I'll be your host. Here with me today is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing?
Doing alright, man. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Doing okay. Can't complain. We just finished up with another Dead Pixel podcast, our other podcast about video games. This podcast, though, as the name suggests, is about damn anime. And yeah, I have been watching a lot of anime, more different shows than I've ever watched in my entire life. Probably, I know this is just a regular thing for you, but I've watched a ton in the past fortnight or so, and it's been eye opening to be sure. There's a lot of decent stuff, and there's a lot of not so decent stuff. But yeah, so I'm gonna let you kick it off though. What's some good stuff that you've been watching?
Well, a lot has dropped recently for the dub scene. Uh, Generally speaking, by now I would have guessed that most of the dub anime would have come out already, and they just keep on dropping more and more and more. It's crazy.
Oh, you mean like you
So
would have thought that what you would have known was going to be dubbed was that's it, and
yeah,
then you would
it's like
you
because you'll get like 3 episodes in, and then 3 or 4 episodes in, then they'll start to follow through with a dub of a series. Or they'll wait till the whole thing's finished and then then start dubbing it either 1 episode at a time, or sometimes just drop the whole thing at once. So I was like, "All right, cool. What's done is done. Dubbed anime is finished. There should be nothing new coming out." And they just keep on dropping new stuff, which I'm loving because it's actually just really refreshing to see this much effort go into the season. I feel this season's really strong on all fronts. Um, they just got done pulling out the uh, the one you were mentioning last week or last podcast, which was the ice guy and his cool female colleague.
yeah.
And I wasn't actually gonna give it a shot because I just didn't have enough time to slot that into my sub schedule,
Mm.
and that got dubbed, and so my wife and I gave it a shot, and we were really glad we did. It was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I need to hear the dub on that. I'm sure it's good and stuff, but just the storyline itself is pretty interesting. It's like a low key funny. It's got romance and stuff in it. That's kind of what the main point of it is. But some of the stuff that they do with him being like an ice guy is just it's really funny and cute and quaint, and it's hard not to watch that without smirking and giving a heartwarming smile every once in a while.
Yeah, it's a shoujo ass anime. So
Yeah, it's
very
pretty
much
shoujo. Yeah.
targeted. So opposed to shonen being like for young men, usually being classified as an action anime like My Hero Academia or like Dragon Ball Z. The shoujo is usually more female targeted for romance and things like of that nature. But this is, and plus you can tell by like the art style, and it's usually softer looks, but yeah, like I said, it was pretty nice, to you seemed pretty excited about last time, so that's why we gave it a shot, and sure enough, it was pretty good. Also, they did, that Ningen, Fushin, and that was the one about those adventurers, essentially, who, uh, have a bad, tragedy in their, adventuring lives, and they all just kind of are broken people, and they just happen to meet together and form a new party. Uh, that
Uh,
one got dubbed, and I was like, "Oh, that's great," because, uh, it's like I was talking about this with my wife, and now she's actually gonna give this one a shot. She has nothing wrong against, subbed, but it's kinda hard to multitask with the children or with eating and stuff and having
yeah.
to focus on a subtitle. So with them with the dub, you don't have to give necessarily 100% of your attention. You can give like 60 or 70 and still get the gist of what you need, and it's much easier to rewind and then hit play again. So
Yeah,
yeah, then they
that one is really good. Mostly because the main character's name is Nick. That's probably why it's maybe one of the top anime ever made. But yeah, so that's pretty cool.
good,
Uh,
good
it,
old slab of meat, Niku. Yep.
Niku.
Uh,
um,
uh,
there's a slight pause in there, whatever you spell it in Japanese, but that's okay. Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's I only watched the first two episodes because I started watching other stuff, so probably try to get back to that this coming week. But it has an interesting start, and it has like a Dragonborn-ish character in there, so that's kind of cool. You don't see that very often, and the way that they come together by all having had like a rough start to their adventuring careers, and being kind of laid off, all of them is a pretty funny way for them to come together.
I'm actually still watching that one subbed, so that's one of the ones I'm keeping up to date with as it comes out, but I'm also gonna be watching 'em, again, dubbed with my wife. Uh, I find that one just interesting just enough to, like, I wanna continue with that one as it comes out. So yeah, and there's I say they just recently dubbed the Ice Blade Sorcerer.
Oh yeah,
Uh, so I had talked about that, and for sure, like I know you weren't gonna because I was kind of like, it's kind of like kind of anime, like but you should totally give it a shot, especially if you just want to have it kind of in the background. But now you can like you don't have to give it your 100% attention to it. I think the voice work is good, and uh I think it's worth a shot. It hasn't disappointed me yet. I am a little disappointed though that the certain characters' designs and attitudes are attitudes are mostly the same, but like the teacher, for example, or his professor, um, is a much different look, and I would say a pretty different, like maybe 60% similar attitude, but like that there's a 40% difference.
that's a pretty big
And
difference.
I
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty big difference, and the look is very different. I think so I like the manga version, so that is the only disappointing part. But honestly, they did the character well enough. So there's things like that that I'm noticing, and that's why I think another reason why I'm paying attention to it, just because I like to notice the differences between the two. So, but yeah, those are just some of the few that I've been going through. But man, there's so much anime. There really is this season that
Th-
is worth watching.
there's a ton. Talking about a couple of things that I've started watching. I made it through the first two episodes of the first season of Vinland Saga. I've been hearing about how great that is for a while. Um, it's well
You lying
done.
sack of crap, man. You said you weren't gonna go to season 1 of anything this season.
No, I
You
think I
were
said
gonna
I
go
was going to do. I think I
backtracking.
said I was going to do Vinland Saga. I think I said I was going to do Vinland Saga. So don't fact check that. Just to take my word for it. So I did start watching that because I was like, well, I need to watch this eventually. It's already on season two. Maybe I can catch up with the end of season two by the time it ends. I started watching it. I'm sure it gets good and stuff. I'm only through the first episode, so I really can't make a big judgment. But it seems okay. I've seen it's okay. So it's about Vikings, and I've seen and I know the history of Vikings a bit, and it seems like just another story about the Vikings around the time that the Vikings were popping off in the around the year 1000, and it's not that compelling to me. I guess if I didn't already know some of that stuff, it might be. The characters are good and it's got good writing, so I'm gonna try to stick with it. But some of the other stuff that I've seen, Handyman Saito, I watched the first episode of that basically on your recommendation. I probably wouldn't have watched that without your recommendation. It's pretty good. It's definitely a nice turn on the isekai genre. It's funny and cute and kind of fits together in a good way. Similar to that, I also watched the Campfire Cooking. with my absurd skill or whatever. That's also pretty good. I like both those characters. I like Saito more, but I like that the guy in the cooking one. It's a silly, dumb way to kind of uh, convey like an OP person. Um, and
Yeah. Oh, real quick though, Saito also just got dubbed. So that was one that I wasn't expecting as well. I'm like, okay, awesome. That went ahead and got dubbed. And as far as campfire cooking goes, I remember reading that without realizing what the title was. I was just like, okay, and I feel that it opened the door to um, a lot of cooking in isekai because so
uh,
many more anime or manga afterwards had like we're gonna talk more and more about food. I'm like, dude, you just all became a bunch of foodies, didn't you? And of course, it's one of the million and a half isekais with a Fenrir in it now. So there's Fenrir in everything. We have to have a giant wolf. We can't just have it be a dire wolf. It has to be a Fenrir. I'm like, you guys, we can.
God,
There's more out there. There's more source material from a million different things. But yeah, okay.
no, no,
But
there's
no,
not
I like do
because
like that one.
this makes money. Is it? We got a giant dog. Is it a Fenrir? No, make it a Fenrir. It's got to be a Fenrir.
Oh, it's a dog. I'm gonna okay. It has to be a dog. Okay, I'm naming it Fenrir. Its name is now Fenrir.
Yeah, they're just gonna. I mean, they're gonna copy off each other because they want to make money. I get it, but yeah. So I like both those. They are good kind of twists. And one of the problems I have with isekai, as far as I've seen, is that a lot of times it's just an excuse to go to another world and totally forget about where the person came from. And it's just like a OP fest. Like that's even the problem that I had with like Shield Hero, among other things, is that like in Rise of the Shield Hero, he goes to this other world and he gets shit kicked and stuff, but he like never pines to go home or like tries to figure out a way to go home. It's like, well, this is my life now, and I'm just gonna like do this thing. And it's like, don't you want to go home or think about your past or whatever? And with Saito and the campfire cooking, it's like they're constantly in contact with either some aspect of their homeworld. Like Saito's constantly thinking about, at least in the first episode, he's thinking about what it was like to live at home and that it wasn't that great. And he's like kind of doing better now. Campfire cooking guys, sort of still the same thing. So those are both cool for that. I also got a chance to watch Revenger, the first episode of that. Dumb name, real dumb
I
name.
could not. Oh no, and the thing is that name Revenger has been used in a couple things like Tokyo Revenger, which is not a
Oh,
bad season one. Apparently, everyone hates the ending of the manga, but like the using Revenger is such a bad. It's I don't
it's
know English.
it's
I don't know.
it's a bad like in if you were an English speaking person and making something for English speaking people, you would probably not name something Revenger because it's not a real word. We have another word for that. It's called Avenger, but there's already that going on. So it's a problem for the title, and it's whatever. But I decided to give it a try anyway, and I didn't hate it. I actually kind of liked it. I thought it had at least a fleshed out main character. The story feels pretty boilerplate, like an old samurai story about revenge. Okay, okay.
I got I got bored of it and I bounced after 10 minutes. I usually don't ever do that. And I'm like, I gotta use my time more efficiently, and I couldn't. I'm like, nah.
I I do think it's better quality than a lot of other stuff that I've seen on here. Just as far as like straight, like the amount of money they're putting into the show.
The
Um,
artistry and like the actual, yeah, that is true that they do have a quality to it that is better than others,
so
especially some of the ones I was surprised that got animated. I'm like, some of that stuff is not that great looking, but despite it looking better than that, yeah, just something about it just is not meshing with me at all. Or maybe it's just maybe it was just when I tried watching it, I was in the bad mood. So maybe but I'm probably not
yeah,
going
and
to go
it
back
I
to it.
mean it is a very like 90s 2000s type of anime as far as the source material or context goes with like just a samurai story. It's like, all right, we've kind of seen this a lot. and it's sort of out of fashion. I am going to keep watching it, at least a few more episodes, probably, um, and try to give it a chance. But I don't know. I don't know. It's if it does much that I don't like, I'm going to probably drop it. But I've got a couple more that I want to talk about. But are there any more that you have that you want to go through?
Let's see. As far as new-ish stuff that we haven't talked about, I tried out Buddy Daddies. Um,
Okay.
I I can see it being okay. I only watched episode 1 and I'm already ready to like bounce. Personally, it's just like I'm like it feels I can't say this for sure because obviously I only did episode 1. But it was like if you really liked Spy Family or something like that, then this would probably be up your alley in the sense that I feel like it's gonna kinda be a slice of life thing without having a real story. Um,
Mm,
that's my problem with Spy Family is, like, it has a lot of potential, but it's not doing anything, or at least the 2nd season was really, like, middling. So
yeah.
I feel like this is kinda like that. I mean, maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe I'm searching for something that's not there. So I'm just maybe coming into this in the wrong headspace. The quality of the art's there, but it's just not clicking for me as well. So I probably unless if I start hearing like more and more good things about it, I'm just probably gonna let it go because uh I just don't have the time for it. And let's see, they ended up uh I was surprised that this got a 2nd season, and I'm even more surprised that it got dubbed so quickly, or it's getting dubbed so quickly, and that's, The Fruit of Evolution, season 2.
I saw
Uh
that. Yeah, I watched the first episode of that by accident, and I was like, "Wow, they're already dubbing this one too." And then I realized that it was on its second season. But I watched the first episode of it, and I was like, I think there's like a big pink gorilla. It's very odd, both not good and also kind of good. Anyway, what do you have to say about it?
it's super so season 1, watching it made me feel like I was watching a late '90s, early 2000s anime. It
Yeah,
was like this weird slapstick, like, it had this weird and it had just this it was a slightly ugly anime or art style, and it was just like, I have no idea what to make of this thing, and alright, so in the end, it's okay. It's just like, I'll
okay,
just say it's okay. It's self-aware and it makes enough jokes, like, at itself. I'm like, "Okay, this is yeah, I guess there's something about this. I wouldn't necessarily recommend I'm like, "Dude, you gotta waste your time and watch this." I couldn't really say that,
it's
but
yeah,
I'm not gonna but if you're just happen to be in the mood for it, I'm like, "Okay," then for sure, give it a shot, but it's not really it's like a 6 out of 10, so it's just like, okay, and that's how it is. So they got a 2nd season. I was like, "Holy crap, can't believe they got a 2nd season." And that's being dubbed. So I went ahead and watched episode 1. In fact, that came out today, and I was just like, a dub that is, and I'm like, "Yeah,
okay.
alright." They pick up exactly where they left off. I think the actual animation quality got better from season 1 to 2, which I was like, "Wow, okay." I don't really think I should be wasting my time with it, but since I already wasted my time with season 1, part of me is like, "I gotta see this to the end."
The completionist in
I
you.
really shouldn't, but I might. Um, once again, it's a good thing to play in background if I'm playing Vampire Survivors. So,
Uh,
yeah.
okay. So I got a couple more. I'm gonna start with some of the ones that I think are probably kind of bad. So I watched the first episode of one called Technoroid Overmind. It's about androids, and this is probably the most 5 out of 10 anime I think I've ever seen. It has almost no personality, but it's not bad. It's very strange. Like it's hard to really kind of quantify unless you've seen it. It just the story doesn't really go anywhere beyond like the normal beats, and it's a little bit funny, but also not funny. Like I couldn't think of a joke that actually happened. it's just a perfect 5 out of 10. It's very odd. At least that's the way it is to me. Um, I watched The Tale of Outcast, a couple episodes of that. That's a shojo about a beast man. It's basically Beauty and the Beast, but it's like a beast man and a little girl. It's whatever. I'll kind of skip around. I'm watching some of these others, and I just don't really know if they're going to turn into anything. I watched kind of the Great Snow Sea. It's a heavy CG animated one, and I watched the first episode of that. It was okay. The CG is a little bit off-putting, but it's all in CG, so it's not so bad, and it looks like it's pretty like they have some confidence in it. So I might stick with that a little bit more. Um, I keep watching Trigun Stampede. That is also CG, but man, it looks it looks really good. Like it's it's a very good looking CG anime. And the story is okay. There's action in every episode. There's blood in it, which is pretty interesting. There's like this last episode, episode 3 or 4, had a good bit of blood in it and killing. And that was like, whoa, okay. Um, I don't know. It's like there's not a whole lot really going on in one sense, but there is a lot going on in another sense. But it's just really well animated. I got to give it that. A couple more. Keeping Up with Blue Lock, and Nier. Obviously, Nier I think is really good, but I'm biased. So Blue Lock though, Blue Lock is really good. I'd missed an episode, so I caught up with that, and I watched through episode 15 now. Blue Lock is just a really cool battle anime, man. It's just a really cool like elimination battle anime. Um
It's a battle royale without the murder. It's how they did it.
yeah, yeah, and it's very, chess move, 4D chess type stuff going on. And it's about soccer, and it's just cool. I didn't think that I would like it or I would like it this much, but it's definitely one of my top two things of the week, for sure. But probably the best thing I watched this week was a little anime called Ippon Again, and it's a slice of life anime about about these little girls just entering high school, and
Way to
they
make it sound creepy, man.
yep,
About these
I'm
little
just gonna
girls, yeah.
these little girls about these little girls entering high school, and
Why
it's
did you try to
about
do Nick Cage impersonation?
I didn't
Okay.
I didn't even realize that. But anyway, it's about their judo club, and the first episode starts out they're still in middle school, and they are in this judo club, and that basically like the main ish character is saying she's gonna quit judo club whenever high school starts because she's gonna have a whole different life, and it's a little bit about how that those plans sort of change. And um, there's probably about 4 characters they've introduced. And they all have some good personality, and it's well drawn. Probably I'm sure the animation is gonna fall off either after the first episode or after the third episode, somewhere in there. But it's well drawn. It's not particularly funny or anything like that, but it does give me a KB seller uniform vibes. It's not that good. It's not a KB good, but it is a good little one, and I'm looking forward to watching some more of that and seeing how it develops, seeing if it can stay in that kind of rarefied slice of life magical air. But we'll see about that. Anyway, so that's what I've been watching, and Ippon Again and Blue Lock are my picks for the bye week.
All right. Yeah, so for me on the other hand, I've been let's see. There's a few new things I ended up watching. I ended up watching the first four. There's 4 episodes out of it now, but the magical revolution of a reincarnated princess and the genius young lady. Genius being like prodigy, I guess, is pretty much the way it is. But it's a weird, it's your normal isekai fare, except for this person who's isekai'd as the royal princess, in this fantasy world. Everyone knows magic except for her. She cannot use magic. So what she does is she uses, like, the stones you get from monsters and such to help power, unique tools she makes. So, she ends up essentially making a lightsaber, for better or worse. Like, she makes, like a little hilt of a sword of and a beam of light. She uses the stones like a firestone to essentially make a hot electric kettle so you can make tea. She does stuff like this. She's looked at as just a really weird, uh, quirky person, and like an Otome dating game, this other girl is essentially being denounced in front of the school party, the whole school at a dinner party for, you're like, "Yeah, you were engaged to the prince, but the prince now loves this other girl who happens to be of a commoner background, and now he's denouncing you in front of everybody." And when that happens, at that exact moment, the main character happens to be test flying a broom because she wants to fly, but because she has no magic, but also no one in that world, even though they have magic, no one flies. And so she's like, her dream is to fly. She's like, "There's magic in this world. You have to fly." And so she's been modifying a broom with like these stones to try to get airborne. So she goes out of control and completely crashes this party, literally. Like the moment uh this whole engagement, disavowing goes, she busts through the window, perfect timing, and in slow motion they just see her hit the ground as she tumbles. It's just like, snapshot, clip clip clip, and then she smashes into the wall, and then she quickly looks and she's like, "Oh, what's going on here? Oh, wait a minute." And then she quickly puts it together one and one. She's like, are you sitting there, are you breaking off your engagement now? Great, I'm gonna take this girl." And so, um, the former, the former engaged or betrothed, girl who's a genius at magic. So she's the polar opposite. She's the prime minister's daughter, and so their parents, that's why she was engaged to the prince, because the prime minister and the king, they're like, "We'll have our kids marry and they'll be a powerhouse couple." So the main character goes ahead and says, I'm gonna tell my dad everything that just happened. So I'm kidnapping this girl, and I'm gonna tell dad on you, the brother prince, that you have now made a fool of us all." And so she literally just jumps on the broom, takes off, and was like, yeah, it's silly, it's quirky, the genius girl has a lot of issues, because she's been living this like really strict lifestyle, and she envies the princess for being like a bohemian, essentially just being a free spirit, doing whatever she wants, not tied down to conventions. While the opposite is like, the princess wants, the main character's like, "I want magic. You look so happy and so beautiful while you're doing magic." And like, she is pretty much fawning all over her all the time. She's like, "You're beautiful and you smile and you're the most perfect girl." And it's just like, it's very, yeah, it's weird in that way, but it's a cute little series. It seems to be it's funny enough, and it has a good enough story. So, the one of the other bits I'm watching was, essentially, they actually dubbed this as well, which I was kinda surprised. It was I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the defense girl, Bumofu or something like that, or Bofuri. I think it's Bofuri, is what it's called. It's an MMO, slice of life. Essentially, girl joins into this MMO. It's a full dive where they can, VR setup, and she doesn't like pain, so she just specs herself out straight up in defense. Uh,
Max's defense, yeah.
and she ends up, she just becomes mad OP. And this season 2 came out, and that's already getting dubbed, and I'm like, "Oh, that's great." So, that was surprised on that one. Um Yeah, outside of that, there hasn't been a lot that I've been watching, new that is. I mean, so for my pick of the week, I'm probably gonna go with, actually, I was surprised with, saving 80,000 gold,
Yep.
uh, in Another World because that one also got dubbed, and that one was a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting to I saw the manga a lot, and I just like, "Oh, another isekai. Can't afford to spend my time on reading this manga." So, but now that I got a anime adaptation, uh, this one, it has a unique twist because, uh, to keep it short, uh, she's about to she's about to fall to her death, and then next thing you know, she's isekai. She runs into some people, of this new world, and they're helping her out, uh, and then she's running away from she ends up getting attacked in the woods by these wolves, and she's just all she can think of is how much she misses home, and next thing you know, she teleports home. Uh, but she accidentally abandoned one of this little girl that, like, befriended her that's been helping her out in the other world, and she's like, "I can't just leave her." And so she then says, "Hey, if I can get to this world, maybe I can get back." And she then goes ahead and arms herself with like a kitchen knife, like a couple, another like a couple knives and some other things from the house, and she pretty much wills herself to go back to the other world. So apparently, she has the ability to teleport between worlds.
Yeah, so they use that, and she starts to kind of plan around that and do some different things. That happens in episode 2, where she starts to make plans. But that's another one that does a pretty good job of showing, like, okay, like, isekai is not just about, like, she is kind of OP, but it's not just about being OP in this other world. It's like, how can you use both worlds? It's just a little bit more thought through, and has a bit more of a gimmick to it. So I like that one too. I like that one too.
Yeah. So that's what I'll recommend as my surprise. That and the fact that the ice guy,
Oh yeah.
that one I like I said that was pleasantly surprised about that one.
But the only other one that I'll talk about, yeah, I really like that guy too. The only other one I'll talk about is that I forgot to mention is I've been keeping up pretty well with Tomo-chan is a girl. I watched the first 3 episodes. I think I didn't get to. I think they have the fourth dub out. I don't think I've gotten to that, but I'm actually liking that pretty good. That's a nice, cute rom com too.
Yep.
The the
Yeah, for sure.
the I don't know what they do for the Japanese, but the dub, the main girl voice actress does a really good job of, like, sounding like a tomboy, but also still sounding like a girl. So definitely very enjoyable. Um, but yeah, so that's what we've been watching as far as anime goes. So next up, we're gonna be jumping over to our special topic of the podcast, and today's topic is a question, and that question is I left it a bit open ended because I kind of wanted to see what we would do with it. But the question is anime mainstream? So I definitely have some things to say, I think, about this. But Joe, would you like to kick us off? What do you think? Do you think anime is mainstream?
Yes. All right, we're done. Cool. Answer solved. Um, I mean,
I
you go to
agree. We're
Target,
done.
you can buy T-shirts at Target. Hot Topic is like 50% anime now.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
yeah.
you know, like I said, it's everywhere. I mean, is it in the forefront? No. Is it going to take the Fox Sunday nightly lineup at 7 o'clock? No, but it's
Like,
mainstream as far as everyone knows what it is now,
to me,
and
I ju-
it gets theater action now, dude. It's in movie theaters. Like you couldn't get that before.
so to me, the first thing you have to say is, okay, how do you define mainstream? And I think you've done a pretty good job with that. To me, like, the most mainstream would be the way it is in Japan. It is, regular businesses that adults go to like buy houses and like do money stuff, those have like anime characters as their mascot. You know, not all the time, but it's definitely not out of the ordinary to see anime just like in life as you're at the grocery store or whatever. Um, so that's like the most mainstream. But um, as far as mainstream for kids in the United States, yeah, I would say it definitely is. For adults, I think we have probably one more generation before people like you and me are still talking about it, watching anime as we grow old. But and after that happens, then it will probably truly be mainstream. And that's just kind of how I define it. I think like my dad and people who are probably like 10 or 15 years older than me, the number of people who watch anime in that age group, I guess you would call them the Gen Xers. They, to me, don't really watch it as much, and so it's harder for me to consider it mainstream because they don't really dial into that at all.
Well, see, I think Gen Xers know about it. Baby boomers, a little less so. But considering the fact that you have certain things that have broken into the culture so hard, uh, when it comes to stuff like, when they did that, when the whole stupid Area 51 meetup, and they're like, let's do the Naruto run, and people have to be like, wait, what's that? Um, so that's like I almost yelled at the guy who runs the daycare because my eldest, ran to the kitchen, comes around the corner from the dining room into the kitchen, and I just see him arms back, and I'm like, "You little turd, who taught you this? Who taught you this?
That's what you
Like, you
get.
learned it from your daycare. I'm gonna like, I need to have a talk with them." I'm like, "One of your little monster children taught my kid how to do a Naruto run."
That's what happens when you send your kids to state-run schools. They
But
get
it was just
indoctrinated.
yeah, I mean, no, but, something like that has made it, I would say the fact that it's,
But that's not
mainstream,
like
right?
that's like
Pop
mocking.
culture, but it's
That's
still
because
there,
it's
dude.
mocked. Because it's like because the people
If
when we
you
were
can
growing
mock
up.
it like that, that means it is well known enough. You
That's
can't
fair.
just mock something that's not well known, or
That's
they're like, "What the fuck are you
partially
talking about?"
fair though. I mean, I feel like I guess so. I guess Naruto is mainstream in the same way that like William Hung was. You know, the like she bang. You know, remember that guy?
Forgot about that.
Yeah, he was
Only until
mainstream
you
too.
said it, dude.
he, was, he was mainstream too, um, in his own way. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's kind of mocked, and so it's sort of
So,
mainstream. But that's the beginning.
certain
You're right. That's the beginning of the mainstreaming when it's so popular, people are making fun of it. But the next generation gets, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever, and that is not as dumb and people take it maybe a little bit more seriously incrementally over time and then in another 10 years I think it has. I guess what I'll say is I think it's probably like 70% mainstream, but it has a good little ways to go before I would consider it like capital M mainstream.
yeah, but the way I look at it is you go to any if you could find a mall still somewhere, you're guaranteed to find a Hot Topic half filled with it. You're
It's
looking at
true.
any of
Yeah.
those anchor stores, Kohl's or whatever, you'll find them have, they'll have in every T-shirt section for the children or for the adults.
Dragon
You'll end up
Ball or
finding at least one anime, Dragon Ball, or some My Hero Academia.
right.
Like I said, Walmarts and stuff like that will carry them. Then also just in the mall itself, you'll guarantee to find one like the Spencer's equivalent of anime, just all, like whether it be action figures, posters, dolls or whatever, like you'll find a store like that just full of anime, like or Japanese paraphernalia. And
It's true.
so,
Yeah.
I mean when I look at them, I'm like, wow, that's expensive as crap. But the high school and like middle school me would have lost their minds to see something like that in the US
Oh
because it
yeah.
was just so rare. I mean, but now it's literally it's here. And the idea of I mean, so I think it's considered more mainstream. You see people with, uh, you see people wearing clothing, like more often, but you also see people going to the movies. And that's, like I said, that's a huge deal to see. Guarantee any new Ghibli film, it will get a theater release once
Release.
it comes
Yeah.
over. Yeah. And then same with, I'm forgetting the studio, the creator, but Your Name.
Oh yeah, the Your Name
Um,
guy.
Kimi no Na like that, the last couple of films have gotten US release. Now they haven't been as blown up, but they're getting that recognition.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, like I said, yeah, you
Yeah.
70% there, 100, but at the same time, I think it's safe to say mainstream.
Yeah, that's I guess we're gonna have to disagree just a little bit because um but yeah, like it's
It depends on where you start from though, I guess, that's too, because I started from literally there's only like
yeah,
3
compared
movies
to
ever,
I mean compared to that's what I was gonna get to is like, compared to when we were kids, which it was on Cartoon Network and stuff like that. But it kind of just started on Toonami, whenever I was a little kid, and it wasn't everywhere. It was just in certain places, especially like late at night and stuff like that. That was one of the first times that I could ever see it on TV was on Adult Swim, and Toonami and stuff like that. And compared to then, when you just internet was still pretty young, compared to now, where it's com- like literally everywhere. Back then, it really was not. You had to know what you were looking for. You had to go and try to find it, and you couldn't assume that every kid on the playground even knew what it was. I mean, people still called it like Japanimation up until the early 2000s, I think.
I did. In fact,
Yeah.
video stores still had it'd be the Japanimation section.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anime until later. But also to argue the point is it it's gotten mainstream to the point where now it influences Western style
It's
cartoons.
true. Yeah.
Um, I mean, you got things like, the way a lot of these newer, cartoons, they're revamping, like the Voltron, or Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those are heavily influenced based off of, uh, you know, anime.
Anime style.
It's
Yeah.
like there's a stronger debate to be had if you can classify those as anime, because, it's like when
Yeah.
enough Western and when enough Western stuff is starting to adopt, does it have to be from Japan to be considered anime? Because, but
And
anyways, that's a
then
different topic for a different time.
that's a
Uh,
big can of worms that we are not going to open right now.
so
Uh,
you're welcome. I just gave you that just on a silver platter. Uh,
all right, we will treat that golden topic with all of the pomp and circumstance that it deserves someday. But yeah, I think it's a good way to close it. You're right. It is starting to bleed over, so it's mainstream enough to kind of infect and take over a lot of Western cartoons too. But yeah, it's definitely more mainstream than it used to be. I think it still has a good little ways to go, and happy to enjoy the ride. All right. So that's going to do it for us today on another Damn Anime podcast. Um, I've been Nick, and here with me has been Joe, and we'll see you next time.
yeah, thanks for having me. Just take it easy.
Bye.